Hi everybody, my name is Benjamin. I'm the founder of QRTiger. His Chinese name is QRTiger.
What do you do?
QRTiger is a QR code generator platform where people can actually make different type of QR codes and all the link management that goes beyond it. So people can actually make QR codes which they can track data from. People think when they scan a QR code it goes straight to a website. No, there's a lot of magic going behind it, and that's exactly what we do.
QR code is quite popular nowadays in China. Is that why you guys built this business in Beijing?
QR codes of course became very popular within China, and that's thanks to WeChat because they built a whole ecosystem around it. And that made that QR codes very quickly became an important part of daily life within China. In different parts of the world, as the United States, Europe, and other parts, Southeast Asia, QR codes are becoming extremely popular as well because they became a necessity during this pandemic. When we launched QRTiger back in the days, we launched our website in China and outside China, not knowing which market would be the quickest growing market for us. My big surprise, it was the United States that started to grow quicker than China. So that just shows if you make a startup that sometimes you can think one thing, but it becomes another thing, right? So this is always how things go.
Why the US started to use a lot of QR codes?
I always compare a QR code with a door. Every business needs a door, and then you open the door and behind the door could be any kind of thing. And this is the same thing with the QR code. It's a bridge between offline and online in a very simple way. It's something that you can print, you can plug it on a wall. It doesn't need electricity, a QR code, and you can actually scan it with a smartphone.
We're using QR code now in China for money transaction, purchasing online. Outside of China, what other QR codes are used for?
Most QR codes are used for a simple URL, so that's a QR code that redirects to a website. The second biggest part that we have noticed are files. So this is a QR code, when you scan, it opens a PDF. People scan a QR code and you have a QR code on a business card. And then also we have noticed a new trend, that is social media QR codes. It's a QR code where you can have all your social media and people can follow you. And QR code is one of those things that took time, but now it's actually really coming to its momentum in the world where suddenly every country is starting to use it.
Why you pick this QR code as your first product?
Well, we looked for a new industry. We saw QR codes were taking off in China and we jumped on it, and I think we did it in the right moment. So when you make a business, it's not only of being the first, it's also being in the right time, in the right markets. As an example, Google wasn't the first search engine, Facebook wasn't the first social media, but they were in the right moments where the market was ready for it, and that's the same thing here when we came with QR codes.
Do you have any difficulties?
People always think that being an entrepreneur is sexy and cool. It's not. Just that's an illusion. That's an illusion that people have. It comes with a lot of ups and downs. It comes with a lot of things. I'm an architect as a major, and architects, we do solve problems. We make buildings, we understand them, and we give creative solutions to them. Same thing is as an entrepreneur. You see a problem, you try to create a creative solution for it. I worked in fact for the company that did CCTV building in Beijing, so one of those big major architecture companies. I had a friend who was in tech, and with that creative idea we started our first startup. With having no knowledge of business, no knowledge of things, just the idea of doing something creative, something fun. But business is not only about being creative and doing something fun. Business is much more than that, and that's the thing that you're going to learn along the way when you actually make a startup.
What do you think is the important lessons you learned from your previous experience?
You need to actually really prove that you can do it, and even if you can prove you can do it, then still it can go up or down, right? I mean, there's so many elements that will play, makes a business become successful or not. And that's, I think, the things that I learned to understand what are those elements that make a business successful or not. And one of these is, of course, having a good business model. The quicker a company can make money, the quicker that a company can start to survive. When I was starting off, another serial entrepreneur, and his advice was, he was sitting there in a panel with many venture capitalists, and some girl asked a question and say, what is your advice to do a startup? And his advice was, don't do it. Today I will repeat his advice. My first advice is don't do it. My second advice is don't do it. If you still want to do it, be ready to really struggle. And my biggest suggestion for any entrepreneur would be surrounded by people that actually like-minded and that actually can give you advice. Don't forget to go once in a while to community. You will need community to keep mentally healthy, right? Because they always say it's lonely at the top, and that's true. If you are an entrepreneur, you are actually pretty in your own space and in your own set of problems. So you need people around you to reflect once in a while with that are different than your staff.
Thank you very much for joining us.
It was a pleasure to talk to you.